Alright, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and as you can tell by the title of this video, not going to screw around with teasing you guys, but I got another car. Kind of bought it just to daily, so without further ado, this is my 2003 Mark IV GTI with a 24 valve VR6. The car is completely bone stock and has zero modifications done to it at all, other than, I guess, if you consider it a mod, a muffler delete. But other than that, this car has not been touched at all. It has one of the cleanest interiors I've ever seen for a Volkswagen of its age. Literally no rips in any of the seats, no damage. Stock radio, stock shifter, stock wheel, no weird stickers, nothing. It is so clean in here. Exterior on this bad boy is in great shape too. Has a couple of little dents here and there, as you would expect for a car of almost 20 years of age. But this thing is super awesome, and the reason I bought it is because it was actually super cheap. I picked this guy up for $1,500 Canadian. Whatever the conversion is in US. For the reason that I got it so cheap is because it may have a suspected bad flywheel, and that's actually why I have already got it up on jack stands, because I'm just gonna jump right into diagnosing this guy. I've driven this car and it does vibrate when you drive in any gear around 2,500 to 4,000 RPM, and it's not super aggressive. And I've actually had the car for a couple of days, and I went right ahead and replaced the dog bone mount inserts, as I've had a VR6 before, like way back, like a couple of years ago. If you actually dig through some of my older videos, I had a Jetta with a 12 valve VR6 and it did something very similar. So I did the dog bone mount inserts as I suspected that was the problem, but it didn't really fix it, and it only made it a little bit better. So I'm really hoping that it's only the engine mounts, and if it actually is the flywheel, then that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but that's what you're here for. You're here to watch me work on cars. So we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit more diagnosing, and I've actually got the car in the air for a good reason. I'm gonna start by doing process of elimination, and I'm gonna get rid of the elimination of finding out if it's potentially a super unbalanced wheel. So we're gonna pull the wheels off and actually drive the car in gear off the ground. And then I'm also gonna start looking for potentially worn out bushings in the control arms, any suspension problems, potential problems with the axles, which I would assume it wouldn't be able to do as much vibration as I've seen in the car. And before I go ahead and I pull the flywheel out of this, if that is the case, I will drive the car and I'll show you guys how bad it actually is vibrating. But other than that, let's start ripping these wheels off and start there. Alright, so just very quickly, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna try and just wiggle around anything that I can just to see if we have any loose bits. It does have the weight sitting on the control arm right now on the jack stand, so we're not gonna be able to really feel anything with suspension, but just kind of giving it a general tug on certain components, making sure nothing is really loose, other than obviously the brake rotor is going to have a little bit of give to it. But everything looks pretty good, but I can actually see right now that in here one of the control arm bushings is a little bit messed up, and I'll show you that in just a second. I don't know if you can really tell from here, but right on the top of that bushing, that dark line there is not supposed to be there. That's a crack in the bushing, so that could be one of the reasons that I'm feeling a little bit of a vibration when I'm driving, because of some old bushings. So that's gonna be something that we're gonna look into replacing. But we have the wheels off now, so we're gonna go ahead and start the car, and we're gonna see if we can feel any vibration difference with the wheels off. Here's some beautiful muffler delete VR6 things. Oh, still very vibraty, so I believe. So I'm gonna release it in first. Just get everything rotating. Yeah, look at that. I don't know if you can see it vibrating like I can, but it's definitely shaking pretty hard. No major shaking on the top, but the engine is moving a little bit. Well, it doesn't look like it's anything suspension related, so I'm really hoping it ain't the flywheel. I'm hoping it's potentially an engine mount. So I guess the next thing to do is we're gonna be doing an engine mount. So like I said, I already did the dog bone, which is the one in the rear, which connects the bottom of where the transmission meets the engine. That seam right there, and it connects it to the subframe in the back, right basically where the firewall is, so like right about there. So that one's already done. So now I'm gonna look into potentially we're gonna start with the driver's side actually when I do decide to do them, just because that's the one that supports the transmission, and if that's where the flywheel issue is, if we replace that and it gets a little bit better but the shake is like still pretty prominent, I'm just gonna go ahead and assume it is the flywheel. I've already talked to one guy who can actually hook me up with a dual mass. Both axles and the engine mounts are $200, so that's a pretty sick deal, as a dual mass flywheel brand new is about $1,000 Canadian, so we don't really want to do that. Other than that, we're gonna go ahead and I'm actually gonna try and pull the air box out up here and do a little bit of diagnosing of the engine mounts on this side. So there's actually a lot of stuff in here to look at. First of all, there's been an oil leak at some point. I have records of this vehicle saying that it's had the valve cover replaced, but it's a little bit sweaty right there around the head gasket, which is a little bit concerning, but it might also just be because it dripped down the side and then it's kind of sitting right there. So we're gonna clean that up and then re-inspect it later on after we've driven the car for a little bit. But we also have a lot pooling up on top of the transmission here around the shift linkage and that kind of thing. And we actually we had a hose, a little vacuum hose off this guy right here. This one, that like thick boy that I'm hitting right there. That guy was off, so I'm not entirely sure what this little apparatus right here hooks up to, but it runs to this hose, which kind of goes down to the secondary air pump. So I'm hoping it's nothing major and that actually isn't what's causing our shake, because that's pretty substantial. But other than that, it's pretty clean in here. Not a whole heck of like any other evidence of anything going wrong here. I had a little bit of a coolant drip when I first bought the car, but I haven't had it again since, so it could have been from someone overfilling the reservoir. But I'm just gonna quickly clean this up, and then we'll give this motor mount a little bit of a jiggle here and see if we can get any movement out of it. So here's the engine mount right here, and it's actually shaking quite a bit, but barely any force. It was enough to knock the light over, but I'm barely putting any of my strength into it, like no body weight or anything, and it's shaking on both sides quite a bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna replace that side motor mount too. I compared it to the passenger side while the engine was on, and that side isn't moving, this side is. So I'm gonna do that one as well, but I can hear like a little bit of like a rattling coming from what sounds like the transmission, so that's also another sign of damage to the flywheel, is that there's some uneven bits making contact with the clutch and actually wearing it out a little bit faster. Like I said, easiest things first, so probably in the next video I will do the engine mount and we'll go for a rip, but you guys heard the car already, it's pretty damn loud. I really want to put a watt box on this thing just for the memes, so I can shoot flames and have two-step and that kind of thing. It'd be kind of cool just to kind of screw around with. But other than that, thank you guys for checking out another one of my in quarantine car videos. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions about what you want to see done to the 24 valve or anything to the Mark IV, honestly, I already have been looking at getting coilovers, because they're literally like $350 on ECS just to slam the damn thing and make it look super sick. There's lots of part outs in Vancouver of a Mark IV. I might get GTI Recaro seats on the inside. I don't really care too much about doing the headliner and that kind of thing. I might wrap my headliner as I did that in my old Jetta, and I just kind of want to do like some cheap cool mods to this car, but not like really shitty quality stuff. So anyways, thank you again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, like the video, share it with your friends, and peace out. I will catch you in the next quarantine video.